Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple Jump podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
And my name is Peter. Hello?
Silence.
Hello?
Nothing.
Suddenly you hear the sound.
Suddenly a motorbike speeds up to the ring. It's just us two. We're back.
A man jumps off
the motorcycle. Ben and Peter are back at it again in the white vans.
Probably.
I don't know. I don't have white vans.
White
I
something.
don't even have vans. White boys.
Yeah.
White boys back at it again, just being white boys. Ashton is off this week. So Peter and I are returning to podcast duties. It's been, like 3 months now?
It's been a long time. It's just like the good old days.
Just like the good old days.
Except now we've got Emma.
Yeah, Emma's in the podcast studio. She's got her arms folded, though. She looks really moody.
So have I, to be fair. I do sometimes. That's what, if I could cherry pick things from the last 3 months, I would keep Emma but get rid of Ashton.
Nobody tell
Don't
Ashton.
tell
that.
Ashton.
She can't know.
No.
But Ashton loves Emma so much.
They come together.
They're inseparable. Except, Emma's here and Ashton isn't. So, they've got to ask some pretty difficult questions, really, all told.
Yeah.
This is our video game podcast. We're going to get onto the video games in just a second. First, though, Peter, we are sponsored each and every week by a very real video game adjacent sponsor.
Yeah. We are sponsored by an entire console today.
Oh, an entire console.
It's very exciting. Have you heard about the Nintendo Switch?
No, what is that?
Things are happening with the Nintendo Switch. A model has been released, a special Nintendo Switch model. There's something about they've brought out this other one that's got a fancy new screen and stuff. But as well as that, what Nintendo have done is they have gone back to some of the old designs that were pre the initial Switch. It was like a prototype version. They've gone back to the prototype of the Switch. That was never meant to be released.
Yeah.
And they've now brought that out. So
Really?
from back in time, introducing the Nintendo Switch old model.
Did you enjoy that?
Did you like that one?
Did you like that one? What does the old model do?
The screen's rubbish. It's got less internal storage.
Fewer internal storages.
Fewer internal storages. You can't Bluetooth pair your audio to it, but also it doesn't even have a jack, so you can't connect any headphones to it. What else?
I hope they don't do that with phones.
It's got no kickstand. It's all just gone backwards.
God,
it is the old model. I don't know why they did that. Yeah.
Is it expensive?
It's the same price as the regular Switch.
What a bargain. I think anyone who was considering buying the Nintendo Switch old model, their mind, it should be made up.
Yeah.
It's a steal.
Buy it.
Get it now.
Except don't, because it's a lie.
Oh, beans.
Lol.
Damn, I thought I was going to get really disappointed.
Oh,
rubbish.
For £280 or something. Yeah.
Never mind. What we are actually sponsored by are our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump, where for as little as $1 per month, you can submit questions to this podcast, as well as a host of other rewards. There's so many. We've had so many new people join the Patreon over the past month or so since we launched the new stuff, and that's awesome, and we love you, and thank you so much. There are so many tiers. There's the After Dark podcast that at the time of recording, or at the time of release even, goes out on Monday for patrons of a certain tier, where you can ask us about anything non-video game related. We'll just shoot the shiz, as they say in the business. And we also have, as we'll get to at the end of the show, we'll let you know what's going on, Weirdest Games Ever. The first episode releases on YouTube next week. If you're a patron, though, because it's a monthly show, if you're a patron, at the same tier that you get Worst Games Ever 2 days early, you get Weirdest Games Ever a whole week early. A whole flipping week.
Madness.
It's crazy. So patreon.com/Team TripleJump. We hope to see you there real soon.
Yeah, we do. Look at that.
What's that? What are you looking at?
Look at that there on the screen. You see?
What, on the recording?
My finger went off.
What is it?
Just a tiny little bit of the mouse.
Oh, you can see a little bit of the mouse. Yeah, just shove that off there. There we are. If you're not watching the video version, you're missing out. And you see the high-octane thrills of, is that a mouse?
16 pixels of mouse
on
the edge of screen.
Get off there. You're not one of the stars. Go away.
What you'll also, what you won't be missing out on, though, is our super special extra sponsor. It's TripleJump.gg.
Ooh. Hello everyone! As well as our extremely real and totally not fictitious in any way sponsor, we're officially partnered with PlayStation, Xbox and Nintendo to sell their codes through our own website, TripleJump.gg.
Here you can get everything from topping up your digital wallets to PlayStation Plus, Xbox Live Gold, Xbox Game Pass, and Nintendo Switch Online subscriptions, as well as Minecraft Mine Coins. Mine Coins, they'll be your coins any minute.
Nice one, Peter.
Oh, thanks very much.
It's 100% legitimate, directly supports us, and provides you with the delightful digital currencies you're going to buy anyway. Visit TripleJump.gg to browse our full stock.
TripleJump.gg. This is a real sponsor. It's time for question 1 now.
Oh yeah.
This is from Stukalicious, who says, "Hello, you cheeky little monkeys.
Whoa!
Last week was the 40th anniversary of the release of the first ever dedicated video games magazine. Computer and Video Games, it were called. What are some of your favourite or memorable experiences with video games media and journalism, whether in paper form or online? And hey, tell that Emma to slow down and take a break sometime. She works hard. She
is. Just looking really cross.
Looking cross.
A little bit of transparency breaking the fourth wall here, a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
The only reason she has her arms crossed is that if she doesn't, her head just slumps down out of shot.
Yeah,
so she needs to prop up her hands with her crossed bare arms.
The kind of the jungle skog design of her kind of lying and looking down is endearing when you first get her, but then when you're trying to sit her up on sofas,
when you're trying to get her to present a video, she doesn't do it.
It's inconvenient. We need to
Silly Emma.
stick a pole up her neck or something.
Whoa!
Open her up.
Yeah, sure. We'll get right on that.
Anyway, so video games media and journalism. Now, I know that you have something of a penchant for video game magazines, or you have been subscribed to them in the past, or certainly bought them. I've never had a subscription to a video game magazine in my life.
Whoa! Your entire life.
Yeah, I used to occasionally just buy them from the kind of the corner shop, mostly for the demo discs.
Yeah, sometimes for the cheek books.
The cheek books.
That's a different magazine.
I had a couple of cheek books as well, and sometimes also I would read video game magazines at Peter's Magic Uncle's house.
Peter's Magic Uncle. I imagine we'll be hearing more from Peter's Magic Uncle a bit later on in one of these questions.
We may well be, indeed, because he was subscribed to, various... He was subscribed to like official PlayStation magazine and eventually OXM, Xbox magazine. So I read them there, and I used to enjoy them, but... for me, really, my fondest memories of video games magazines are demo discs. Really, I just think like they were fantastic, and I miss them. And I will happily go back and occasionally play demo discs, partly because you see builds of games on there that sometimes are different to what eventually came out, which is fun. Or sometimes it'll just have FMV of a game, and like the UI will be completely different to the final version. Remember when we played the B movie on Worst Games Ever?
Yes.
And it showed the tutorial of like the taxi minigame.
Oh yeah, and it showed an outdated
and it was like an
build
old
of the
version
game
of the HUD, which was kind of strange. But I remembered, while trying to think of an answer for this question and write some notes, I remembered that I actually had at least one demo disc from a computer games magazine as a child. It was the only one I ever had. Normally it was just PlayStation ones. Right. But it had a shoot 'em up on there, like a scrolling shooter called Tyrion 2000, spelt with an A, not an O. So not like Tyrion Lannister.
Right, not like the Lannister.
And it also had Winnie the Witch.
Why does that sound familiar?
Winnie the Witch was a series of books that you may well have seen as a child.
Okay, that just triggered a deep-rooted memory.
They were sort of brilliantly illustrated, like really great, like colourful, like poppy kind of artwork. And there was a game for children about Winnie the Witch where you could just go around her house, and it was really just... you would go into like different rooms, and there'd just be loads and loads of things to click on, and they would just sort of animate and like make funny noises. And
did I have this demo?
Oh, maybe you did.
I don't know.
And Winnie the Witch demo was in her bathroom, and you could like make handprints on the towels and like the soap would like slide around the bathtub and just
Right.
all kinds of things like that.
Okay.
You could click on the mirror and her face would come up, and you could like cycle hairstyles
Right.
and put lipstick on her and stuff.
That's weird.
Yeah, so that was great. I loved Winnie the Witch. I also had a demo for Command and Conquer, which I think must have come from a magazine. I can't really think where else it would have come from. And I used to play that over and over again. It had like 3 or 4 levels on it, and I thought that was just the game, probably.
Yeah.
I was kind of too young to understand that no, a demo is just a little taster.
Delicious. Warm it up.
But it had several missions on it that you could spend hours playing, really. And I used to play that all the time. So yeah, demo discs really are my favorite thing. My fondest memories of video game media.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I never really got gaming magazines when I was a kid, mainly because they always had like Lara Croft going,
Yeah.
yeah.
So your mum's not going to buy it for
No,
you.
you can't have that. And also they're like £5.
Yeah, they were
Which is a
expensive.
big ask. So that's not going to happen. It wasn't until I was in secondary school that I started just buying them myself. And my favorite magazine, which I have spoken about on here previously, was a magazine called PSM3.
Yeah.
Which was a PlayStation 3 magazine. And I remember the first issue, well, previously it was PSM2, which a lot of people may have known as well from back in the day. But they changed their name to PSM3 about 7 or 8 months before the PS3 launched in the UK.
Right.
So I saw their first issue and it said all over it, yeah, first issue of PSM, get the latest scoops on a big black box from Sony. And also here's a page of barely censored nude lady
Don't go to the
wallpapers
back
for your
page.
phone.
Yeah.
And there was some really awful
There was some stuff in
naff
the
stuff in
back
there.
pages of those magazines.
But yeah, it had Army of Two on it. And I was like, this looks amazing. A co-op game? And, you know, they'd blown up these really horrible screenshots. So they were just all grainy and rubbish. And I read, and I think I bought every issue of that magazine from its inception until it was closed down, which was before, I want to say before the PS4 launched, because, you know, magazines were dying. It was part of Future Publishing, which is a big magazine publisher in the UK, and they had a load of gaming magazines under their umbrella, many of which were slowly killed off.
They still barely exist.
I think it's just official PlayStation magazine
Yeah.
now. I think Xbox and Nintendo have both stopped, but PlayStation magazine is still going, I believe.
And isn't the one called Play? Is it just called Play?
Yeah, I think Play magazine might still be going.
I think that's still going.
Yeah. Games TM, I think, is still going as well. That's a bit more of a premium one, you know, sort of like a fart sniffing. Aren't video games art forms? So, you know, to each their own, but I found it a bit dry, that one. PSM3 certainly loved that. They used to come with discs as well, but the demos were far less exciting. They were handy in that they were literally the install files for the demos, so you would plug it in and you just copy it onto your PS3, so you wouldn't have to download it on your crap internet.
Yeah.
But they used to just pack it with videos as well.
Yeah.
And some of them they just downloaded off YouTube because they thought were funny. It's if anyone's ever seen Half-Life Full Life Consequences.
Oh yeah.
I first saw that on a PSM3 demo disc because they
really?
just ripped it off YouTube and distributed it throughout the UK.
Sold a magazine with that.
I couldn't believe it, but it was amazing. That's how I saw that. But that was very much in my formative years of like really starting to get into games from a sort of critical standpoint and like starting to appreciate them more as not a time-wasting exercise, but something that I was like, really quite passionate about. And podcasts came in around the same time as well. Podcasts really started to explode, and there were a number of podcasts that I would consume and really enjoy that have, again, just sort of fallen off over the years. Used to just go onto the podcast section of iTunes and just search PlayStation and find all these sort of rinky-dink tiny podcasts from just enthusiasts who didn't really know what they were talking about, but it was all that was available. So you would listen to those, and I loved those. One final thing is that I had a Spanish textbook in secondary school, and it had, you know how people used to be able to cover their own textbooks and stuff. You used to like, some people would put them in wrapping paper
you
and
back
things.
them.
Yeah, to like protect them a bit. Someone covered it with an official PlayStation 2 magazine.
Right.
And over the course of the year, I would slowly like just unpick it just to read more of what was on the backside of this magazine.
Wow.
There's like a little bit of an Onimusha review that I was able to read.
You're just gradually learning a little bit more about Onimusha.
Oh, it's great. And so there we are. That was fun.
That's great.
Also, one thing I tried to do, I have done with the PS4 and the PS5, is that I bought like the launch day official PlayStation magazine, just to like keep as like a little memento. Like, that was the launch day edition of that magazine.
The one on the Spanish textbook?
Not on the Spanish textbook, sadly.
Oh,
but yeah, I used to love reading magazines. Obviously, the way we consume media now is so different that magazines can't really exist, even though they still do, and I still appreciate magazines. I've never. I wouldn't buy one anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've got one extra bit about like digital. A fond memory of digital media.
Yeah.
I really like now, or not even now, in the past maybe 5 or even 10 years, that video game outlets will now, as well as covering stuff in the way you would expect them to, they will sometimes just have a series of articles that are run over a month or two, where it might be their Skyrim character or something. And like they've made a stupid character, they've said like, oh, I've decided to make a character who I have to eat food every day and I can only do like manual labor for people, or, and they kind of do diary updates and stuff like that. I really like those kind of things where it's not just here is our review of this game. It's here's our silly experiment or silly experience.
Like a recurring feature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think there was one that CVG actually did. I'm not sure if it was with CVG, but it was Andy Kelly did something where he was like Cabbage Man or something in Skyrim, and he would just, the only way he could make money, he couldn't fight. Like his character couldn't fight, so he would just go work farms,
harvest cabbages, and sell them
slowly save up for things.
Yeah. I love things like that. I've got one that I've definitely talked about a long time ago on the podcast, but it's been that long. And I've spoken to you about this multiple times. I really like the thing that PC Gamer did with Dishonored. They called it Dishonored No Trace, where they would go around, and it only worked up to a certain point in the game because then things changed. But for like the first 6 or 7 missions, they would kill their targets, because that game offers you the chance to either kill your target or like send them down a coal mine forever, or like make them disappear in some way. They would kill the targets, but they would do it in a way that, according to their headcanon, no one would know that they'd been murdered. It would look like an accident. And so they would like make people walk through the laser gate things, like hack those. And one I remember really specifically that I thought was very clever was the one that's in the like it's a brothel basically. The one where you go to the brothel. I think there's 2 targets. I think there's twins to kill in that one. The way they killed one of those guys is they, as he's walking past a guard, they possessed his body. And then they jumped out of his body again. And when you do that, it makes the person vomit. Like they always just vomit in that game. So then this guard like sees this guy vomiting just before he goes into the bathhouse. And he's like, oh, okay. The guard's just looking at him. And then they kill this guy with like blunt force, I think. I can't remember if they like throw something at him or whatever. And then they leave him face down in the bath. And then they go around the room and they put loads of beer bottles all around him. Yeah. So then the story would be that the guard was like, "Oh, well, when he went in there, he threw up and stuff. I think he must have been really drunk." And then they find this body surrounded by glass bottles. I thought, "Oh yeah, that's really clever."
That's good.
That was like a video series that they ran on the website, and it's like 6 or 7 episodes of it. And just seeing people be inventive in games like that, I think is really cool. So that was PC Gamer who did that.
Fantastic.
There we go.
Well, it's time to move on to a section that, we have done it before.
Yeah, we do it all the time.
It's called, I don't know why we would say otherwise, really. No. It's called What Are We Playing? I don't know why I did that. It's What We Play in time. Time to talk about what we play in. Petost, what have you been playing?
I have essentially been playing the same things that I said last week. I went back and did a bit more Kana.
Okay.
I just wanted to go. I'm not trying to platinum it, but I just thought I enjoyed myself in that game, and I wasn't quite ready to leave that lovely world. So I just went around looking for what are they called, rots and things like that, and just wrapping up a few things that I'd not already done. So that was fun. I did that for a couple of evenings. Then in the middle of the week, I didn't play any video games. Been busy, but I then also went and played some more Orcs Must Die, and I've now, I think, reached the point where I'm satisfied, and if I play much more of that, I'll start to get bored of it. So I'm not going to be doing that. I'm actually thinking about playing God of War finally.
Okay, 2018.
2018, which I've wanted to play for a while, and there've been other games that I've thought, oh, should I play that instead? And what should I play next? And as I spoke about at length in several podcasts ago, when I tried to play Horizon, I felt like slightly overwhelmed by it, and I just wasn't in the mood for like an open world game. And I sometimes, when I think about playing God of War, I'm like, oh, but that game is like such a, not a big game in terms of scale, but it's a big game in terms of, it's many people's game of the year of that year, right? And so in my head, just by association, that seems like an undertaking to me, because if it's a big significant game, it must be a bit of a, it's a commitment. But actually, it's like semi-linear. And, that's probably exactly what I'm looking for right now. Kana as well was essentially a linear game with some, branching paths and stuff. And I really enjoyed that, like just having the focus, having a set objective, go here, do this. So that is what I'm probably going to start playing this week before the next podcast. So
amazing.
Hopefully next time I'll be able to talk about my experiences with God of War at last.
Well, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
Very good.
I know, and gotta get it played before the next one comes out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I've been up to. Just same as last week, really. Sorry to be boring. Sorry.
Well, fortunately, your boys played everything.
Excellent.
Absolutely flipping everything.
You've had a games sesh, haven't you?
Yes. So
with the lads.
As I said on the last week's podcast, the hashtag the lads were coming up to Newcastle, and we were going to just sit there and play one game the entire time, that being Demon's Souls on PS5, which we have not had the chance to all play together yet. We were going to do a sort of miracle build character, because I've never really done that before. It's a faith build is what it's called. You've got levels where you can level up your faith and stuff.
Right.
And there's spells or sorceries and miracles, which are different, and they both use different, like you use sort of like a wand type thing to do spells, and for miracles you have like a talisman. It's far more sort of God focused, as you would imagine. Turns out that was a big flipping mistake.
Oh, no.
It was a really horrible idea. So it started off fine because we all picked sort of the same starting class that was good for that.
Yeah.
Made our way through the first couple of levels, then skipped ahead to like a much later level so that we could rescue the guy who exchanges boss souls for high-level miracles, and will also teach you miracles as well in exchange for souls. So thought that's tactical. Let's do that. That's a good idea. Then we started running into problems where we were putting all of our levels into faith so that we were ready to use these big, powerful miracles any day now, whenever they arrive. Turns out there's one offensive miracle in the entire game.
Wow, okay.
And it's not even a good one. And the rest are things like heal yourself, teleport back to the Nexus, and sort of helpful things, but not good things.
Yeah.
So any small amount of Googling would have prepared us for that fact. And we ended up just getting really frustrated. And so we sacked it off. We gave up on that run because we just reached a point where
you couldn't really attack stuff.
We put so many levels and so many souls into just pointless skills that were just useless. They did change that in Dark Souls. The miracles in Dark Souls are really good and powerful.
Right.
But in Demon's Souls, don't do a miracle run. You'd be an idiot to do that. Real dingus. So we then went and played the entirety of Borderlands 1, just the whole thing from start to finish. That's always good. Love Borderlands 1. Great. Bit less on the humor front than Borderlands 2, but it's a good game. And if you know what you're doing, you can sort of charge through it. So we smashed through that. Played a little bit of the Battlefield 2042 beta that was on over the weekend. Didn't really get on great with that. Looks pretty. I've never been a huge fan of Battlefield games, only in the sense that when it comes to first-person shooters, I'm like super attuned to Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And I find Battlefield to be a difficult game to transition to. So while I don't think the game is bad, and a lot of people will probably immediately misconstrue what I'm saying as that I think Battlefield is bad.
Battlefield.
Got him. I find it difficult to play.
Right.
Especially like when it because the weapons I feel like maybe are a bit more realistic. So when I'm aiming down the sights and I start to fire, the recoil just sends like I'm overcorrecting when I'm trying to adjust for the recoil of my gun. So I'm useless at killing people, which is sort of the whole point. But it's very pretty, and I'm sure people are very excited for that. I'm still interested in perhaps jumping into the full game, but I didn't play much of the beta. What I did play a fair amount of, though, is Hell Let Loose, which is the World War II shooter that's on PS Plus this month. And I actually quite like that.
Oh, yeah?
It's got a similar construct to Battlefield, or concept, I should say, in that everybody fulfills certain roles on a team.
Right.
And it is a huge World War II era shooter. Like, the maps are massive. They're sort of based on scans of actual maps.
Right.
And it's quite a pretty game. Janky looking, especially with the character animations, but certainly the world is very pretty. But on each team, you have to like jump into different groups or units, and within that unit, the unit is specialized. You can be infantry, you can be armored, so you know you're jumping in tanks and stuff, or you can be a recon class. But there's only a certain amount of spaces in each one, and each one can only have a certain amount of each role. So while anyone can get into a tank, only people that spawn in an armored division and are that class can drive the tank. If you want to use a sniper, tough luck, buddy. You've got to be in the recon class.
Right.
But one of you has to be the spotter, and one of you has to be the sniper. So it's super realistic in that sense. And it was actually, if you got friends to play it with, it's really fun. There's a lot of people who take it extremely seriously, though. There's artillery. There's like, it's called Hell Let Loose, which I think is a really bad name for it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really sell you on what the game is. But it's intense. When you're in that, you just hear a noise like, what's that noise? What's that noise? And then the entire field just explodes because a whole load of artillery's been dropped and stuff. Like, I'm impressed by it. I can't say that I'll play much more of it, but for a free PS Plus game, it's pretty good. Yeah. In my opinion.
Okay.
Nearly there, Peter. Ghost of Tsushima Legends. I started up the PS5 version. Got the platinum trophy because I imported my save data.
It's as easy as that.
Played a tiny bit of Legends, which was the free multiplayer mode that they added a while back, like co-op. But there were too many of us to do any of the story stuff because you can only do it in two-player co-op for the story. So we did like a wave defense thing, which just got absolutely mulched and quit the game. Didn't play anymore.
Oh no.
I do intend to go back and play the story stuff because I hear it's really good. But certainly we didn't know what we were doing. None of us had played Ghost of Tsushima since it came out, and we just got absolutely rinsed by this by the AI.
Like how that happened essentially twice.
Hop into a game, get our ass kicked. No, not enough time. Let's move on to the next one. Let's go back and play Borderlands for the 20th time. The most recent thing I've been playing, though, is Far Cry 6.
Oh, yeah.
Which, of course, we've done a Quip Scope on. You can listen to that on this podcast feed or go watch the video. Flip me, it's Far Cry, isn't it?
It's certainly Far Cry.
It's really Far Cry. But I am playing the whole thing in co-op, which you can do.
Okay.
And it is so much fun in co-op because this game is really janky. Last night, I was the passenger in a plane. It was being shot down by anti-aircraft guns. I jumped out. For some reason, it glitched and wouldn't let me deploy my parachute. I smashed into like really shallow water, so it's not like Minecraft where you just survive. And then when I respawned, I had to check the map. I was outside the map, but like you could see my cursor. It was just off screen. I was in this dark, scary void for like 2 minutes, and then suddenly I was in the sky again, and I fell into the sea, like off Cloverfield.
Yeah,
it was like. I'm enjoying it, but I don't think for the reasons that Ubisoft perhaps intended. It's Far Cry.
Right.
Sure is Far Cry.
Certainly is. Been playing a lot.
Yeah.
been
Sure
playing enough for me and Ashton combined.
Goodness me. Sorry, everyone.
It's okay.
Playing games over here.
Question 2, though.
Yes, question 2 is from Addy Pramana, who says, "Hey Bap," or Bep, I suppose this
Bep.
week. "Hope you're all well. When you were younger, was there a game that you'd see a friend or relative play, but you never had a chance to own, or at least not until you were much older? I remember going to a cousin's house, seeing him play GTA San Andreas, and begging my parents to buy me it, but they never did. I can't imagine why."
Thank you, Addy. Good question. You know what I'm going to say, and I know what you're going to say, but I used to go next door to my uncle's house.
There he is.
And watch him play video games. And that was kind of where I learned all about video games and got interested in it. He had a PS1. I think he actually, when I was very young, probably had a Sega of some kind, but I don't remember it really. But yeah, PS1 are my earliest memories. I used to watch him play Death Trap Dungeon. That's a game. It's based on a book by Ian Livingstone, a choose your own adventure book.
Okay.
And it was like a third person hack and slash game, kind of a bit janky because it was like a PlayStation medieval sword hack and slash. You can probably imagine sort of what it looked like and how it played. It was sort of a bit rough around the edges, but very interesting. And like some of the enemies in that were quite ambitious. There were like big dinosaurs in it. There was a bit where, I mean, this is my memory of the game. I've not seen it in probably since then, but there was a bit where like a giant hand bigger than you would chase you. You know,
don't like that.
At the Addams Family.
Yeah.
And all you could do, again, this is my memory of it, might be incorrect. You could run away from it. The camera would turn around, so you would be running and you would see their hand behind you, like Crash Bandicoot in the boulder. So you'd be running and running, and you would have to jump over a pit as you're sprinting, and then it would like fall down the pit. That's my memory of how you defeat the hand, but
sounds scary.
could be completely off. It
That
was
would
pretty
have given
scary.
me nightmares
Oh
if I
yeah,
saw
it was
that.
pretty spooky. And there were a lot of clown-based enemies in there and jesters and things. And the opening cutscene was kind of used to sort of freak me out as well, but mostly because it was a bit uncanny valley. Like it had you could play as either a male or female warrior. The premise was that there was this man who had this impossible dungeon that if you could make your way through, you would get riches beyond your wildest dreams. It was like a game. And the opening cutscene would show these two warriors preparing in the inn the night before. They're like sharpening their swords and stuff.
Yeah.
And it would cut between them and this like idiot boy knight who didn't know what he was doing, who was already in there, like trying the gauntlet.
Oh, and
he
that's you, is it?
Well, it's not you, no. It was like saying, you know, how bad the dungeon is.
Yeah.
It was showing him getting like shot at by traps and attacked by goblins.
He shouldn't have gone in.
Set on fire. And then right at the end, the door of the tavern swings open and he's there. He's got like smoke coming off him. And then he like just collapses on the floor and he's got like 6 axes in his back.
Oh, God.
And it's all done in like that weird FMV PlayStation
sort of like
putty.
the opening of Theme Hospital.
Yeah, a lot like that.
That animation.
Yeah, just like that.
Oh.
Really spooky. But also there are some games that, so I never really played. I do actually have a copy of it, but I never really played much of it. But there were other games, as Addy says in the question, that I saw and eventually owned, but because I'd seen them and wanted them, you know, but it took a while. So Duke Nukem Time to Kill, I know Duke Nukem not aged very well, but that game was actually just quite fun to play, multiplayer-wise. There was deathmatch mode. And Hogs of War as well is a game that is now fairly dear to me, really. And my earliest memories of it were playing it or watching it being played first and eventually playing it with my uncle. But you mentioned Theme Hospital. There was this guy who was like the son of my mum's colleague who I would occasionally go around to their house on like a Sunday, mostly so the mums could talk to each other. And then I would just kind of go off with this kid.
We all had those friends.
Yeah.
We just went up to their bedroom and played PS1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I watched him play Theme Hospital on PS1. And that was my first exposure to Theme Hospital. And I thought, this is great. I love this game.
Build your own hospital.
Yeah, fantastic.
Incredible.
And eventually got a copy of that on PC, like maybe even 10 years later or 8 years later or something. But my earliest memory is PS1 Theme Hospital, which I always forget that it was even available on console, but it was.
Yeah, it was.
Ben?
Just listening to next door.
Just having a look.
Probably won't be picking up on the microphone.
No.
Those of you who listen to the Cultaholic podcast will know that those lot are the bane of their existence as well. The brew crew.
Yeah.
Just go into the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
all together,
Have a cup of tea.
make a flip ton of noise.
Have a chat.
Yeah.
Eat some biscuits.
We don't do that.
No, we don't.
We can't. We just leave lit candles in the office overnight.
Whoa, yeah. Well, we do.
That was the development from this week.
Yeah.
Some people got in trouble.
Didn't expect you to bring it up on the podcast.
You know what? I'm going to flip and say
Gonna
it.
flip and say
it's
it.
Not, it's not all
Don't leave a
sunshines and
lit
rainbows
candle.
in our office either.
No, we
just
don't
because
have
we're
our own-
upstairs.
Don't have our own kitchen for stuff. They've got a separate kitchen room.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. We've got just a
studio
kitchenette.
flat.
Yeah, at the
It's
end
all
of
in the same room.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, remember to extinguish candles. Be very safe.
They're also. I've heard they're not very good for you. We shouldn't really have them lit when we don't really want them.
The problem is that we've got Stinky Boy office.
Yeah,
we do.
So they need to be on for that reason.
We have the opportunity for far more ventilation that they have down here in their subterranean dungeon where they are based, the brew crew.
Yeah.
But equally, you know, we have our girl in our office,
Right.
And I think she is perhaps more susceptible to boy stink
Boy stink.
than we are, because it's just sort of like that's what boys smell like.
Yeah.
That's it. Whereas, you know, candles smell nice.
They do. They smell really good, those candles, but you know, apparently they have like formaldehyde in them and stuff.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So we're all dying, is what you're saying.
Well, especially coming into a room the morning after a candle has been lit all night.
Yes, it just smells like burnt.
I opened the window behind me that morning and got slightly chilly just so that I wouldn't die by today. I wanted to record the podcast before I died, you know?
Oh, goodness me. Anyway, my answer to this question.
Yes.
My cousin. It's all about my cousins.
All
Going
about
to
your
my
cousin.
cousin's house.
We should get your cousin and my uncle together to play games. I'm sure they'd have a great time.
Yeah, bet they would. My big cousin, who didn't live too far away from me, like a village away, he got all the games, man.
Yeah.
He got all the flipping games. And for me, it's very much the same as Addy. It was GTA Vice City and San Andreas that I'd go over and watch, like absolutely raptured. This is amazing. In Vice City, you can take any car you want and you park it.
Helicopters.
You park it in your garage,
What?
and then it's yours, and you can just take it whenever you want.
Oh.
It's amazing.
What?
I ended up not actually getting my first GTA game until GTA 4 on the PS3. And even then, my parents wouldn't buy it for me because I wasn't quite 18 yet. And so I gave the money to my friend's dad who bought it for me. But yeah, oh God, getting a debit card when you're a teenager is a game changer.
It is.
Because you can just buy all you want online. Incredible.
Yeah.
The other one, I get my paper. The other one are my other cousins, for sure. I used to go over there and watch them play games quite a lot. They live a lot further away, or lived a lot further away. I remember very specifically watching them play MGS2, which is a game I definitely didn't have the video game ability to play. Like I would have been rubbish at it. And also, Here Comes the Pain was one that I used to watch them play quite a lot as well. And I ended up getting my own copy of that. And that was the best day of my life.
Yeah.
Still got it today. But yeah, there's a couple of examples, you know, that you naturally go to friends' houses who have access to things that you don't. And if you were one of those friends who had access to things, you're probably in prison now, I'd have thought.
Yeah.
Right? That's how it works.
I think so.
All those kids who had access to GTA when they were children, prison now.
Because you had a game that you shouldn't have had.
Shouldn't have had it.
Some of the
so there you go.
So for me as well, some of it is just like a console that I didn't have. You know, it's not about like a game that I can't play that because it's an old person game.
It's a good point. My friend had a GameCube, and I was able to see Zelda and Wind Waker and stuff like that.
All of my early Nintendo, all of
Bros.
my Nintendo experience at all really comes from friends. Like my best friend, till I was 8 years old. We moved house when I was 8 years old, but until then, my best friend had an N64. I used to go around to his house in the morning when my mum was on her way to work. She would drop me there, and then his mum would take us both to school. But there would be like a 25-minute window where we would just play Diddy Kong Racing like every morning, or occasionally Mario 64.
Nice.
And then when we moved house when I was 8, my new best friend had an N64.
Is that that meme? Friendship ended with such and such.
Exactly. When we moved house.
Yeah.
My new best friend in the village had an N64, and I used to go around to his in like after school and play Pokemon Snap, and got GoldenEye and stuff.
It's pretty rad.
It was pretty rad. Pokemon Stadium.
That same cousin
great
had Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Snap as well. That was another one that I just used to watch. Like,
Love Pokemon Snap.
I want that.
Yeah.
I want that. Haven't heard. It sounds like the new Pokemon Snap hasn't landed, perhaps, quite the way that people wanted.
The moment I heard it was coming back, I was like, oh, that's great. And then about 6 seconds later, I thought, oh, it's going to have all the new Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't. That's my problem with Pokemon. Is the Pokemon.
I want to know what the hell's what I'm looking at.
Give me 250 Pokemon.
Give me
is enough.
150.
150. You don't even want Moo. You don't want Moo.
Well, 151.
Come on, take that Moo.
Mewtwo wasn't in Pokemon Snap. Well, mind you, a lot of them weren't in Pokemon
Snap.
No,
they weren't. It was very limited.
Yeah.
It's time to move on to something a little strange.
Mm-hmm.
What's it called?
Strange news.
Weird news time. It's time for some weird video game news. We have our podcast producers here for the week. Thank you so much to our podcast producers. If you would like to be a podcast producer, go to patreon.com/Team Triple Jump. Kick us off, peeps.
Weird news this week is sponsored and produced by Matt Barger,
James Carmichael,
Sean Legg,
Trick24,
Evan Breidenbach,
Fred Cartwright, otherwise known as GY Goliath,
Ellie Nicholas,
Hutker 10.
Is that not just, oh yeah, there's no H. I thought it was Hutcher, but it
or
is.
Hutk.
I think I said Hutcher last week, but there's no H.
Hutker 10
H at the beginning.
Sorry, Hutker.
Melody L. Bonnet,
Harrison Coleman,
or Bonnet, Dylan,
Gabrielle Philippink,
Adam Dawson,
and Katie Garrett. Katie Garrett.
Sorry, everyone.
What a fantastic mixture of, I'm assuming some genders here, but certainly there was some feminine names in there. It's nice to see. You love to see it.
You do love to see it.
Good mixture.
Speaking of people in the community, I have got, it's gone. It always does this.
Oh.
You load it up beforehand.
Beans, it's flipping gone.
And then when you reopen the tab, it's not there. It's like, hey, did you want me to refresh everything?
Yeah.
And go back to like the front? Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Yeah,
that's why I left it on a page before I locked my phone.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Talking of the community, people have posted on our calls to action to send weird news on social media.
Yes.
And my weird news this week was submitted by Toby at Ketchup Duncan on Twitter. I'll check the Facebook post when Ben's reading his and see if anyone else.
I just want to slide in actually and just say that due to my very strange behavior last week that I can't quite justify, I didn't read my weird news. And I think I was going to do this story. I think Cameron Keywood was the person from last week who brought this, I believe.
Well, there we go. Thank you, Cameron Keywood. Possibly.
Potentially. Yes.
And I will check the Facebook as well in a moment. This is according to PC Gamer, I should say. UK thieves jailed after stealing £180,000 worth of cars with a Game Boy.
Damn.
Did you hear the air quotes?
Game Boy. They didn't get me. I escaped.
Yeah. This is written by Rich Stanton, and the subtitle is Criminals Do What Nintendo Don't.
Oh.
Very good. A trio of car thieves have been jailed by Leeds Crown Court for stealing cars with a device designed to look like a Nintendo Game Boy. All pled guilty to the charge of conspiracy to steal and impersonating a Game Boy. No, that doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. The gang had managed to steal 5 Mitsubishi Outlanders using the handheld device, which is about £180,000 worth of cars. West Yorkshire Police estimated the device itself is worth 20 grand.
Wow.
The fake Game Boy that can steal cars.
I mean, if you're making that much per car, or that much in total, I suppose, from the cars, maybe it's a worthwhile investment.
Yeah. And they told the BBC that it could unlock and start a car in a matter of seconds.
Brilliant. I love new technology.
Don't you love wireless technology?
I love the fact that my car can be hacked.
Yeah.
That's why I drive a car that barely functions.
That needs a physical key in
It's got a crank at the front. Wind it up.
The device appears to work by essentially mirroring the short-range frequencies of a particular key fob, fooling the car into thinking that the device itself is the key. Marcus Hutchins is a bit of a poacher-turned-gamekeeper in the cybercrime business.
What?
What a weird metaphor. So he's saying, the notion that you could have a poacher who knows how to like sneak onto land and steal pheasants, and then you would want to hire that person as your gamekeeper so that they would know, here are the tricks of the trade. Surely, like, thief turned policeman or something would be a clearer metaphor. Maybe that's a phrase. Poacher turned gamekeeper.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, anyway, let me assure you that Marcus Hutchins is a bit of a poacher turned gamekeeper in the cybercrime business.
Okay.
And he explains in the below video what the thieves' device is doing.
Are we going to watch the whole video?
Spoiler, it's cunning.
Oh, no, not cunning.
So, and then there's just an embedded video
Yeah.
with some annotations on it. Someone had sent a message to him saying, you could steal a Tesla theoretically with this since they use a card. I don't know what his reply is. It might be, no, it doesn't work on a Tesla, or yes, you could, but we're not going to watch the video. The perpetrators, Dylan Armour, Christopher Bowes, or Bowes, and Thomas Poulsen were arrested after stealing a Mitsubishi Outlander from a driveway on the 20th of July this year. There's CCTV footage of the theft, which can be viewed on the BBC website, showing the thieves work their dark magic on the car. No. Officers arrested them shortly afterwards. That's the second colon. I didn't even tell you about the first one. Second weirdly placed colon in this.
A lot of colons going around.
If you're wondering, why a Game Boy? The answer is probably that it's just an inconspicuous and easily recognizable piece of older tech. The kind of thing you wouldn't think twice about seeing someone fooling around with or think was especially noteworthy. The device was found in a secret compartment of the thieves' car following their arrest. The would-be criminal masterminds also helpfully recorded themselves nicking the cars, which the police said showed how quickly and easily the gadget gave them full access to the vehicles, accompanied by a commentary in mocking tones. Armour was jailed for 30 months by the court. Bowes and Poulsen were each given 22 months in prison, suspended for 2 years. Lock them up and throw away the Game Boy.
Throw away the Game Boy, yeah, because they'll use it to unlock their jail cell.
They will, yeah.
Which is cheating.
It's not a perfect Game Boy. I mean, you've probably seen the image from when you were going to cover this story, but it's got 4 face buttons. It says SUP on it. It's got like a decal. You can
it looks like one of those retro boys that you can get that have more buttons on them.
Yeah, it's got
emulate
X,
other stuff.
Y, A, and B. It's got a button in the middle that I don't know what that is for, and then a start and select. It's also not really the right shape. It's a bit squat, but
it's not really a Game Boy, is it? To be honest, come on.
I would recognise that instantly. They should train more police to recognise Game Boys.
They flipping should.
The links to that article will be in the description. If you want to have a look yourself, or just, flip and Google it.
Flip and Google it, you mad Billies. Although we do say that word sometimes. Bastards. It still feels
it's not
weird.
One of the big. We're not actually banned by Adam Pacitti from saying it.
Yeah, we're not allowed to say it, but I still felt like I needed to censor myself. Michael Milan at Lord of Penguins. We found him.
The Lord of Penguins.
The Lord of Penguins sent this one.
My liege.
It is a Game Rant article.
Okay.
And it says, and it's written by Mason Sansonia, maybe. Far Cry 6 players are murdering their vehicle delivery men.
Oh, no.
That's the headline.
Don't do that.
Far Cry 6 players are rapidly becoming fed up with the man who delivers vehicles in the game and rectifying their problems with him using guns. Far Cry 6, blah, blah, blah. What is Far Cry 6? While trouble with game systems can usually be cleared up with some simple research, other parts of Far Cry 6 are not so easy to dismiss. New game mechanics like respawning enemies are frustrating some players, but not nearly as much as some of their allies. One in particular has players fed up almost immediately. Players have thoroughly had it with Far Cry 6's vehicle delivery man. The article could have started here. Summoning a vehicle in Far Cry 6 is supposedly as easy as selecting and equipping a weapon, as they can be chosen and brought in from a handy wheel menu. While a good tip before starting Far Cry 6 is to use horses rather than cars, sometimes it cannot be helped. However, the NPC who brings the cars is a sourpuss who drives slowly and frequently blocks players from driving his car. For many players, the solution is simple. Kill him. For various reasons, players have begun deciding that the life of the vehicle delivery man is forfeit. For some, it's just how slow he is in delivering the vehicles to where they are, coupled with how slowly he actually hands them over. For others, it's his snide remarks, telling players not to change the radio or adjust the seat as if the vehicle is his, not the player's. And for some, it's the way he will blindly run over adorable chorizo. Since everyone agrees that chorizo is a dog worth dying for, it stands to reason players feel that he is worth killing too.
Killing for.
What?
He's worth killing for too.
Yes, thank you.
He's not worth killing
He is worth killing for too. Then the article goes on. Do you know what chorizo is?
Yeah,
not the Spanish sausage.
No, I'm aware of Chorizo, the dog, his little dachshund.
Yeah, he is with the wheelchair.
With a wheelchair on
so
the
you
back.
can get something in the game called what are they called? Allies?
No, like
they have
amigos.
a special name. Amigos, yeah. And the one you start off with is called Guapo, and he's a crocodile in a shirt
with a golden tooth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they sort of follow you around, and you can get Chorizo as a little fella who follows you around.
And everyone's in love with him, of course.
Have yet to do it, but I got to the quest last night, and the description did actually make me laugh of the quest. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll read it aloud in a minute. But there we are. That's my weird news.
Have you seen Babe Pig in the City?
You know what? I don't think I have.
I've not seen it in full, but it's the kind of thing that used to be shown on like Sunday afternoons in, about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember flicking the TV on once just before I had to go for dinner. And there's a dog in that, like a Jack Russell, that's got its back legs are on wheels. And there's this bit where it's like grabbed hold of like the villain or something, and the villain's in a car, and it's like being pulled along at like 40 miles an hour on its wheels. And then I think it like spins off and essentially dies. And then there's this slow zoom in, and it's on its side, and the wheel is just spinning.
Oh
and
my
God! It just slows down. It goes. And I think, if memory serves, the dog actually comes back at the end. It turns out he's not dead.
God.
But like,
That's all right.
Jesus, just the slow.
It's a bit dark, isn't
Yeah,
it? For Babe Pig,
in the City. It's not what I asked for.
I found the description.
Oh, fantastic.
The quest's called "Who's a Good Boy." The subtitle is "Philly's furry friend fancies a fantastic feast."
Oh.
Look at this perfect little sausage. I've got to find him a yummy treat, a meal fit for a puppy prince on his special day.
Oh.
That's the quest.
That's lovely.
And I did really enjoy that. But the game very much leans into sort of, whoa, how crazy. Aren't we crazy?
Yeah.
Look how crazy we're being.
They know that
You having fun yet?
Trends on social media.
Yeah, exactly. It's very self-aware.
Yeah.
But not in, again, kind of an obnoxious way. Anyway, let's move on to the next question.
Well, I will just say, in Mercenaries, the game, that had a system where you could call vehicles in.
Yes.
And you could like request a car, and the guy on the radio would go, "Okay, I'm on my way." And then this helicopter would arrive.
Yeah.
And that game had that like magnetic winch on the helicopters. You could use it as well and like pick cars up. And then you'd go, "Special delivery," and then like drop the car down. But if you asked for a helicopter to be delivered, he would fly it to you, even if you were in the middle of a field in the middle of nowhere. And he would then just get out, and then you could get in it and just leave him there.
He'd just walk away.
And I always
sadly
felt sorry for that guy. He seemed like such a decent dude.
He's so enthusiastic about his job.
Special delivery, and then he brings you a helicopter, and then you just fly off.
Yeah, just leave him there. Well, that's part of the job, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's what he's paid for.
Question 3, Christopher Ridge. Hello, Christopher.
Hello, Christopher.
Where do y'all stand on constant updates, tweaks, and balance changes? I've always been a fan of StarCraft, but I can't stand how the versus mode of StarCraft 2 is never the same one year to the next. It makes it super alienating to casual players, especially since several things don't work the same as they do in the campaign modes. Likewise, StarCraft 1 keeps all of the dumb metas in it, and they don't try to change it up every season. So it's easier for casual players to jump in. I guess a relatable example would be Call of Duty. What if they were constantly changing how much damage each gun did, rate of fire?
They do.
They do. Rate of fire, magazine capacity, XP gains, how attachments work and how they're gained. Compare it to the first Modern Warfare, and it's easy to just jump back into that after a long break because everything is still the same. I get that players exploit certain in-game mechanics, but I'm far more fascinated by how the community responds to many of these exploits over the years. Anyway, thoughts?
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you. I'll just catch my breath.
Thank you, Christopher.
These things can be hard to keep up with, especially if you're not playing a certain game every day or even every week. If it's just something you hop in and out of. I still occasionally dip into Battlefront 2. They don't tend to. I mean, certainly now they're not updating that game at all. But even back in the day, they weren't doing major changes to weapons and stuff. They were doing the odd tweak.
Nerf the lightsaber. It's too powerful.
Yeah,
it can cut through anything.
It's a bit unfair.
What's the point in stormtroopers wearing armor? It's pointless.
Geez.
Nerf it.
But I've seen this from the outside, games that I don't generally play where I'm like, what is all that you see it like articles occasionally coming up where they've saying, oh, they've changed this and they've nerfed that and they've what's the opposite of nerf? They've
oh god, that's a great question.
Oh, there is a word. Buffed. Yeah, they've buffed that or whatever it is.
God, the gaming vernacular is really stupid, isn't it?
Yeah. That's OP, etc. And I do think like that must be frustrating at times just to try and keep up with what's going on. On the other hand, and as Christopher admits in his question, you know, these things can be exploited. If a certain weapon is like massively OP, you know, we had a similar question not long ago that was like something along the lines of, it was about exploiting quick saves and stuff like that. And our answer, I think, across the three of us, me, Ben, and Emma, was, you know, in a single player game, do what you want. You know, if you want to quick save before you pick a lock, or if you want to use a weapon that is actually really OP, if you use it in a certain way, then just do it. But I do think that in multiplayer games, if there's a certain weapon that's like massively overpowered, then maybe it's more fair for everyone to have that weapon be nerfed a little bit. You could argue, though, that if that weapon is easily accessible, then you know everyone's welcome to use it if they want to. If it's supposedly very powerful, then it's up to you whether or not you use that weapon. You know, people get like that with guns in Call of Duty, particularly, that aren't so OP that they actually need to be nerfed in the patch, but they're just like, oh, why are you using that? That's you're a real scrub, aren't you?
Remember the noob tube?
Yeah, the noob tube, exactly.
Which was the grenade launcher attachment for, I think, the M16 something or other.
Yeah, which was, I mean, it was kind of OP, but it was fun to use, and you know, you could do like matches where me and some of my friends.
I may be a noob, but at least I'm not dead.
Hey, exactly. Me and my friends would sometimes just have matches where it was just like noob tubes.
Tube only.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fun. So it's good for like balancing and stopping exploits and stuff. But ultimately, I guess what it does is it separates a fan base or a player base into two kinds of player. There's the ones who really care about like the meta and like the tiny details about like, oh, this now actually fires 2 more rounds per second. Or whatever, does like an extra 3 damage, versus people who are just hopping into these games to have fun, and they maybe don't have the time or even the understanding to keep up with what's going on. And I think you can split your audience like that if you're not careful.
Absolutely. We've actually got a video in production at the moment written by our own James Jenkins, all about Fortnite and its dominance. And we go into detail about how most games launching now want to be the only game you ever play.
Yeah.
The ultimate game that you never stop playing. And as a result, it can be so difficult, or it is practically impossible to keep up with everything that's going on unless you play it every day.
Yeah.
Which a lot of us don't want to do.
No.
I don't want to play Call of Duty Warzone every day. I got really sucked into playing Crash Team Racing, Nitro. No, that's not Nitro. Was it Nitro Fuel?
Yeah.
Every day before I realized, wow, I actually hate this. I'm so bored. I never want to play this game ever again.
I've not played it since its initial.
Yeah, so I did like the first 4 Grand Prix, unlocked everything, and was like, wow, this is it just doesn't stop. It does not. There are other things I want to do with my time. And it's the same is true for Call of Duty. Obviously, they do need to nerf things that they break. Because there are Call of Duty in particular is a game that is so frequently broken by new guns being added. So much so that it doesn't take long for it to spread through the community like wildfire that, hey, if you dual wield these pistols and have this perk, you kill everyone in 2 seconds. You just walk into a room, mash L2 and R2 and kill everyone in 2 seconds. So, and you will then play Warzone and be killed by that. There'll be one person playing that game who's doing it, and they will wipe the floor with everyone. And it's not fun for players like me who play it once every few weeks, maybe. You know, I can't. And even so, even if I did, I couldn't be expected to keep up. Or, you know, what can I do about that? Even if I play every day, that needs to be nerfed. The game where I have the most issues with this in particular, where things are nerfed and changed, was Borderlands 3.
Right.
Which lent far more into the live service model than I think a lot of Borderlands fans wanted or liked, even though that was the natural progression of the genre that they helped popularize and start in the first place. But, you know, they took such a long time away from the game that they came back to it. and the hybrid of what they once did that was so popular and what is working for other developers and publishers now didn't really vibe with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Still a great game, still really enjoyed it. I feel like I need to give that caveat every time. Like, hey, I still love this game, but equally, there were a lot of things I didn't like.
Ben hates this game.
I hate it. It was my game of the year.
Confirmed.
Flippin' hate it. But yeah, they, especially as our good friend Patrick Fenn, who has now left Gearbox, when we were talking to him in the early days of TripleJump, and we were talking to him about the bugs and exploits and glitches that are present in previous games, he said, you know, we don't need to change those things or patch them, because as long as they're not hurting other players' enjoyment, then what's the point? And the only PvP that exists in Borderlands is when you challenge someone to a duel, which is a very optional thing. It's not like an entire game mode. There's no versus multiplayer or anything. But the level of tweaks and balancing, and usually just nerfing people's certain skills and powers, was just it was nauseating, because you could barely keep one character build 1 week to the next. You'd have to refund all of your skills and reapply them based on guides that you find on Forbes.com. Where there's one man writing about Borderlands 3 for some reason. So yeah, that was just, it was so frustrating. And that was a game I was playing every day. And it was still, you'd log in and like, wow, my skill is crap now. Why is my character so rubbish? Oh yeah, there was a patch where they nerfed everything. Why? Why are you doing this? I can't keep track of it all. But, you know, hopefully Wonderlands is less like that.
It might be partly as well down to whether or not these things are being changed. I'm just the kind of person who gets a bit turned off by a game that has that level of meta or detail about it.
Right.
Like if there's
a lot to learn.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons, and there are several reasons, why I would never play a MOBA.
Right.
They usually have loads of, like, if you really look into it, you know, damage per second and like buffs and perks and things like that, and all these stats that come together to apparently make a huge difference in the eyes of certain players as to what's good and bad and the best way to play. And to me, that just turns me off straight away. Even if like a game came out that was like that and it was never tweaked and nothing was ever nerfed or buffed, I would just be like, oh, it's a bit much. I don't want to have to sit down and learn that level of detail. So I might not be the best person to say whether or not this is a good or bad thing, but I think broadly speaking, just balancing games when, especially if a new gun or something comes out, gets added in, and that completely throws off the whole balance, then it's a good thing to do that. But it can be alienating for sure.
It's like there are people on the development team whose whole job is to tweak things, and so it's like when, you know, your phone gets updated and all they've done is made it harder to use. It's like, why did you do that? Well, we need something to do. So stop inventing work for yourself.
Exactly.
Anyway, let's move on. It is time for the big discussion. Big discussion time. It's time for the big discussion. This week's big discussion comes courtesy of Charlie Brain, who says, "Hello, you wonderful people, and Emma. I've been thinking and talking to a friend of mine about difficulty options in video games. I've noticed that a lot of people are of the opinion that if you play a game on easy mode, then you are a loser and a noob, and therefore deserve ridicule from everyone else, when all you may want to do is enjoy the story and the relationships, etc. Some games also perpetuate this idea, such as Wolfenstein, where the easy mode is represented by the main character with a pacifier or a dummy in his mouth, suggesting that you are a baby if you choose that option. I just wondered your opinion on this, and if you think the games industry should be doing more to encourage acceptance for all kinds of players, whether they choose to play easy, medium, or hard difficulty. Thanks for the excellent content you always produce. Thank you, Charlie."
Thank you, Charlie. That big Charlie Brain energy.
Big brain.
To go back actually to Duke Nukem Time to Kill, a game from PS1, I believe that had it had like 4 difficulty options, and they weren't easy, normal, medium, and hard or whatever. It was
Babe-tacular.
The normal one was, I think, called like Come Get Some, or hard mode was Come Get Some.
Right.
And I may be misquoting, I may be misremembering, but there's certainly our game from that era where the easy mode was either called Wussy or Pussy. I don't remember which.
Wow.
Sounds about right.
I don't know if you could say that last one in that context.
I just did. I think I just did.
It's happened.
So Yeah, there are definitely games out there that are like that. I mean, to an extent, I can accept it from certain games that have a kind of, even if it's a bit cringy, they've got an edge to them, or they try and have an edge to them. They think they do.
Wolfenstein is so over the top. It's
Yeah.
like borderline comedic. It's
Exactly.
Like, its representation of the Nazis and its whole vibe is over the top.
And Duke Nukem, despite the fact that it's aged terribly, I mean, that's a whole different argument. The fact is that was a similar thing where they were, going for this kind of, there might as well have been an electric guitar playing all the way through the game sort of thing. And, again, they can go with wussy if they want to. I think to actively discourage your players from choosing an easy option, that's not the best thing to do. I mean, back in the day, in that sort of era, there were also some games where if you played on an easier mode, you would sometimes miss out on like certain things from the ending. Like, I know some games historically and still now will give you a bonus ending if you play it on the hardest difficulty. But I remember more than one game, I can't think of specific examples, but I remember it being in my mind, I mustn't pick easy, because there were some games back in the kind of late 90s, early noughties, where if you played on easy, you would actually be punished by like not getting
Time Splitters 2,
standard ending, did it?
Time Splitters 2, not the standard ending. Sorry, I should have let you finish.
Right.
Time Splitters 2, I believe, had certain missions that would just end
or
sooner.
certain missions. Yeah, no,
you,
that
you
as
would
well.
miss out on content.
You just miss content. Yeah, no, for sure. So I think, broadly speaking, it makes sense for something like Wolfenstein to kind of take the mick a little bit with the name or the image of its easy mode. But I don't think any game should actively discourage its players from playing on easy, and certainly not there's anything you can really do about it, but like the community shouldn't be like, oh, well, why the hell are you playing on easy mode? You're a scrub lord, you're a noob.
I don't want no scrub.
I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy who maybe just doesn't have time to play the game on normal mode.
But he won't get no love from me.
He won't get no love from me, but
standing at the passenger side
of his best friend's ride saying story mode, please.
Can I play on easy, please?
I play on story mode fairly often nowadays because there's so many games, so little time. It's not really so many games, it's so little time. I have so little time to play games that I play on story mode a lot. Kana was the first one that I didn't play on easy mode for a long time. But yeah, I mean, no one should be gatekeeping games based on the difficulty that other people are playing. And also, it's an accessibility issue as well. Some people might have certain needs that mean they are, they won't struggle with easy mode on a game, but hard is just not going to be. It's going to be beneficial for them to sit and try and play through. So that's a very good reason not to have prejudice against difficulty settings.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If it's a game I'm not particularly asked about, harking back to the conversation we had about games you get for free / as part of your subscription service, where you feel less of a sense of duty to stick with them or finish them as you would if you bought them. I tend to put those on easy.
Yeah.
So when I was playing Gravity Rush 2, that was on easy because I just want to get through it. Judgment, played that on easy, just want to get through it.
Yeah.
And talking about Gravity Rush 2, by the way, my PlayStation Now subscription ran out like the day after we recorded the podcast, where I said, well, it runs out this weekend, so I need to didn't even get a chance. So I don't know if I'll finish that. But yeah, I tend to put things on easy if I'm not fussed about a game. Otherwise, I'll play on normal. It's very rare that I will choose a higher difficulty than that unless there is a trophy associated with it. And nowadays you see fewer difficulty-related trophies. Again, because I think it's just they want to make games more accessible, which is fine. Because are you really going to lose sleep over the fact that if you choose to play through a game on a punishing difficulty, your choice, that you've done that, the game's not making you do it, and you don't get a trophy, that's going to upset you? I don't think so. Yeah. And why not just give a trophy just for finishing it? I think a lot of games, Far Cry 6, one thing it can be applauded for, is that right?
Yes.
Is that correct English? Is its accessibility options, in that it only has 2 difficulty options.
Oh, okay.
One of them is story mode, where, there's no real difficulty there at all.
Yeah.
And you're just there to experience the world and the story and so on. And the other one is action mode, which is just the game as intended, the experience as intended.
I like that.
And I am all for games that have no difficulty option whatsoever, because there are a number of them. Soulsborne are the obvious example of that, and I'll get to that in a second. But certainly, I think, why not just remove the decision altogether? Why not just design a game that the developer, in this case, wants to design, and that is the experience?
Yeah.
And it's that, or a story mode, which is the accessible one. For people who don't have enough time, for people who have certain accessibility needs, who can then just experience the game, but aren't necessarily up for a challenge. Games would then certainly still need to be balanced very well, because you remove the option for people to drop it onto a lower difficulty if they're up against a difficult area or whatever, which could present an issue. But I'm all for games, just this is the game, and you can play it on story or action mode.
Or there's adaptive difficulty as well, which I don't know how much. Obviously, it's a hidden thing, so you don't always know when it's happening. But certainly there are some PS1 games, the Spyro games, had adaptive difficulty on them, and I think Crash Bandicoot as well. If you got crushed by the boulder, for example, over and over again, the boulder would start rolling slower. And these things weren't heavily advertised at the time, but I'm sure it still exists today to a certain extent. And that's always worth having in a game that doesn't have difficulty options. Is just something that if you are struggling a lot and dying over and over again, it's just quietly behind the scenes. It kind of tweaks certain, enemy aggression and things like that. That's always an option too.
Absolutely.
For developers.
When it comes to Soulsborne, there's long been a debate about having an easy mode in those games. I would argue, as would I think most of the people who play those games, that part of the whole mystique and charm of those games is how challenging they are.
Yeah.
And how much you need to get good, as in the Soulsborne vernacular. You need to practice. You need to understand how it works. It is playable. You just have to get better at it. And while I would not lose any sleep whatsoever if they were to add a story mode in there, I still think in the particular case of Soulsborne, it sort of defeats the entire point of the game, because it's meant to be quite punishing.
It's kind of the USP. I mean, the fact that people now say the Soulsborne of, or it's a Souls-like, and they mean a difficult game partly.
The Soulsborne of cooking games, for example. So I think to circle back to Charlie's big brain question, there should be absolutely no shame for playing on easy. I think we are entering something of a golden age currently of accessibility options in games, and those can work not only for people who need them to experience the game at all, but also for people who don't have much time or got the game free on PlayStation Now and they just, by Jove, they just want to get through it so that they've finished it and it's done, and they're not there for a long time, they're there for a good time. And that's okay. Games that sort of mock you for playing on easy difficulty like Wolfenstein, it's very much, as we said, sort of a comedic aspect, sort of an homage to their roots, because they've always done that. They've always sort of like taken the mick out of players. But it's a stigma that I feel now is more meant in a light-hearted sense than it is in a literal sense, because there was definitely, as part of gamer culture back in the day, like if you played on easy, you were rubbish at games or whatever. Whereas I think that doesn't really exist anymore. Of course, there are awful people, and there will always be awful people who will gatekeep and who will tell you that you're an idiot for playing on easy. But I don't think that really exists anymore in a true hateful sense. I do think it's more of a, oh, you're going to play on easy? You're a big baby. It's like, no, I understand. I've got a job as well. So, I don't think it's anything to worry about necessarily.
But incidentally, I'm all in favor of putting a little secret reward behind the hardest difficulty. There's no harm in that. And especially because generally it tends to be perhaps a secret ending. Sometimes it might be a special in-game reward. But if it's a secret ending, people can just go on YouTube. If they just want to see it and they don't want to have to sit down and do it, then that's an option. But like, for example, I've played several Halo games through on Legendary to see that ending, knowing full well I could just go on YouTube and find it. But that is a sense of achievement and getting a reward at the end of it.
And it justifies that difficulty being there in the first place.
Yeah, it does. So. Yeah, that's right. Because without that, it's just hard.
And why would you do that?
Because it's not fun to play through.
Well, exactly.
I found it very punishing. But
having got a lot of platinum trophies, the playing through on the hardest difficulty is always the thing that makes me never want to return to that game ever.
Yeah.
And you skip cutscenes and you're running through areas and you die for BS
You hear the same
reasons.
dialogue over
Oh,
and
it's
over.
the
as you
worst.
keep
It's a
respawning.
terrible time. I know some people want to challenge themselves, but like, give them the option. The
Yeah.
options are good, but there's an easy option for a reason. And why the hell wouldn't you take it if that's the best for you?
Yeah, for
There
sure.
we go. Peter,
Yes.
where can people find us on the internet?
Team Triple Jump everywhere. YouTube.com/Team Triple Jump and Twitch.tv/Team Triple Jump is where all of our content is going out. Of course, videos on YouTube, but also live streams on YouTube and Twitch. If you've got Amazon Prime, one of the benefits of that is a Twitch sub. So you can just spend that on us if you like. And when we are streaming on both Twitch and YouTube, we are modded by Lord Brotovich, Trowling Badger, and Mr. Black. Thank you, mods. We've got social media over at twitter.com and facebook.com/Team Triple Jump. Twitter more for video and live stream announcements, little bits and bobs. Facebook for legacy video content, things like that. Occasional Facebook Lives. Not done one of those in a little while, have we? We should do one soon. Watch this space.
No.
I'll tell Fraser that we should do another one.
Yes.
So maybe in the next week or two. And also patreon.com/Team Triple Jump is where you can access our Patreon tiers. There are new rewards as of a couple of weeks ago, including early access to worst and weirdest games ever. So that's very exciting. Keep an eye out for that.
Absolutely. Emma, can you get the next bit?
Emma?
Oh, Christ, looks like it's up to us then. All right, okay. So we've also... Ashton normally reads this.
In fact, before pre-Ashton, I used to read this.
Prashton.
Maybe I should carry on.
The website is triplej.mup.
If you go to triplej.mup, that's ju.mp, by the way. If you go to triplej.mup/Discord, it will take you straight to our Discord, modded by Jack, Tori, and Hollow Eyes. Thank you, mods.
If you go to triplej.mup/podcast, you can find our podcast over on Acast, but we're also available everywhere else as well that you could possibly want to find us.
triplej.mup/VODs will redirect you to our YouTube VODs channel, or you can just search for Triple Jump VODs on YouTube.
You certainly can. And also the store, triplejumpshop.com. God, I've really nearly read that the old way. triplejumpshop.com to see all of our merch. At Triple Jump Shop on Twitter, if you want to go check out what's going on with the shop and get the latest updates. We've got a brand new shirt that I'll tell you about in a second.
You can also go to triplej.mup/shop. That works.
Can you? That works too. We've got so many options for you. We do lists every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Streams every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Thursday being the joint streams on YouTube. The rest of the days being solo streams on Twitch. Worst Games Ever is fortnightly. Friday for patrons of a certain tier. Sunday for everyone else. It is a Worst Games Ever week. The podcast is every Saturday. And we do shows one every other week or thereabouts. We actually do way more than that at the moment. This is quite outdated. Why not leave a review on iTunes or your platform of choice? It helps something to do with Al Gore's rhythms. triplejump.gg. Go check that out if you want subscriptions or currency for your various platforms or mine coins. Those are an option too. Ashton flipping went and played on a Switch OLED, didn't she?
She did.
She had a chat with you about it.
Yeah, she played Metroid Dread on the OLED. And so we've done her first weekend with the OLED, and we've done a Quipscope on Metroid Dread.
We certainly have. We've also done a Quipscope on Back 4 Blood, the sort of Left 4 Dead 3, as it were. The claimant to the crown?
Left 5 Dead.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, James has been playing that. It's available now on Game Pass for free, as well as on other platforms for money. So go give that a watch or a listen. It should be on this podcast feed now.
Speaking of the shop, as we just did moments ago, we have a brand new shirt in addition to the merch drop that went out a week and a half ago, 2 weeks,
God, maybe slightly longer now.
So I don't
know.
Drop 2 happened. Extra shirt has just happened. Did you know there was a massive data breach on Twitch?
We didn't talk about this on the podcast, but yeah, there was a huge. They basically leaked the entire website source code, including the top earners.
Someone hacked into it, and it was the top 10,000 or something. Earners on Twitch. Turns out. Pleasant surprise. We are the 5,882nd.
Your boys are on it. Your boys are on the leak.
Out of every single Twitch channel in the world, we are within the top 6,000 on earnings.
Yeah.
Would you believe?
That is astonishing. I mean, we got there courtesy of you.
Yeah.
Solely. So thank you very, very much.
Don't for one
indeed.
moment think that we can rest on our laurels and start thinking that we're making loads of money, because we're not. But
per the illegal Twitch hack, we are the 5,882nd biggest Twitch channel in the world, and we have a sort of special shirt to commemorate that. So go check it out at TripleJumpShop.com.
Incidentally, if you go looking for that data, I believe the figure of earnings is over 2 years. I think that's right. I don't think it's over 1 year, because I was like, we're making that much in a year?
We're definitely not.
We're not. I think it's 2 years.
Aren't.
I'm not sure.
On top of that, the Tat Appeal is back. We know you've been asking. We know you're excited about sending us worse games and Tat, and we took a year off last year because of the pandemic and so on. But we are officially open for Tat, baby! We're doing another Christmas Tat Appeal. There is a video with all the information on the YouTube channel, including our address where you can send us stuff. I believe the two notes that you need to know is that the cutoff is the 19th of November.
Yeah.
And there will be a grace period of 1 week afterwards for any straggling things to arrive, just so we have enough time to shoot it and then obviously release it on the lead up to Crimbles.
Please put enough postage on there.
And please put enough postage on there.
If anything gets held up and we get a note saying your package is waiting in
you need to pay
Dover,
£15 or whatever. We can't pay for that, unfortunately. So make sure you put enough postage on.
And if you're sending a worst game ever, preferably just have a little look on Metacritic before you send it. Make sure that it's averaged like no more than 60% odd.
Yeah.
Preferably a lot less.
Excellent segue. You can send us weird games that have been reviewed sort of okay or very well. They're just really obscure, because this week, for patrons, they got access to the first episode of Weirdest Games Ever, which will be releasing next week on the channel for everybody. But if you're a patron of the same tier that gets Worst Games Ever 2 days early, you get Weirdest Games Ever flipping week early, and you get both this week. You get both episodes all together. What a flipping bargain.
God, jeez.
Patreon.com/Team TripleJump. So it is a Worst Games Ever week for everyone. That'll be on Sunday, but it's a Weirdest Games Ever week. For patrons, with the full episode going out next week. So there we are. I think that's all of it. It's been a huge week. We've released so many videos this week.
We couldn't really find the time in that. We did some 9 p.m. releases this week.
Yeah, a couple.
No time on the schedule.
A couple of 9 p.m. releases, but there's still plenty to go. I think that's all. The Tat Appeal is the exciting one. Go check it out. The address is there. Send us your nonsense. We want it.
Just enough time then for me to remind you of today's sponsor, which is some crappy prototype version of the Switch that is older than the Switch itself.
Yeah.
It's just been released for some reason. The Nintendo Switch old model.
Weird. Don't know why they'd release that.
Strange.
Right, we're going to go now because it's lunchtime and we're hungry.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody. Look after yourselves. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.